what's out there depends on what films are being put out there. So, you know, the more cutting edge stuff seems to be aimed at a fanboy audience because they're the ones who are spending their time on computers. But I would say that ultimately you do have family movies that put campaigns out there. They're not quite as sophisticated as these are. You know, the other thing is these are somewhat expensive campaigns. So if they're going to put the money behind this kind of marketing, they want to do it for an audience they think that they're going to grab in.
Just think that the DVD extra segment is an extraordinarily promising one, especially for kids.
I'm actually very excited about that particular market sector. We've only done a couple, and I think that we will get better at trying to direct. I mean, like I said, one of them worked out spectacularly, and one of them was okay. We probably would have liked more face time for the scientists. But it's a start, and we're developing relationships. Different production companies work on a TV show that work on the DVD extras, so it's a completely different networking. So one of the things that we're doing is trying to reach out to that aspect. But that works across all ages. I mean, if there's a children's movie out there, and they need DVD extras, they're desperate for content for that, and we can say, look, we can have someone come in, an educator, a science educator, come in and talk about a scientific angle to your children's movie, and that will be part of your DVD extras, and you get some really quick, easy content, and we get, you know, access to your audience. I mean, 1 million people buy the Lost DVDs.
Well, and especially for kids, if you incorporate not just additional material, but games on the videos. There's no, I mean, the number of times kids rewatch movies. My data points with one child. And there is actually, very active research and production community in educational games for kids using these techniques. They're not taking all the time.
And PBS is actually doing a lot with that. They've actually got a very active interactive department, and their site is extremely robust. And obviously children's education is something they're very invested in. And part of what they've been looking into as well is not just DVDs, but mobile, because every kid kind of has a phone now, or they have a little PSP that they're sitting in the back of the car playing with. So if you can take that sneeze game and you can have it on the computer, but you can also, they can be playing with it in the back of the car, that just creates another way for them to learn in a different environment.
They'll be washing their hands a lot.
You talk a lot about getting science, onto Hollywood, onto television, and getting it right. But there's another aspect of this which I find interesting. That's the portrayal of the characters of scientists. So if you look at, say, Dr. Brennan on Bones, she's, problematic socially. House is very problematic. The fringe guy is just, out there. It would be nice to see some scientists who are relatively normal.
Well, except that those aren't always the most compelling characters. I mean, they're looking for something to lock into there. Also, I mean, how many episodes of Bones have you seen?
More than I would like to admit.
Please tell me. I mean, I want to know, because a lot of times I think people watch like a handful of episodes, but the character of Brennan on Bones has really developed.
You have them all. I don't want to. I shouldn't raise that as the first one, because that's an interesting example where there is an evolution in her character.
Right, and I also think, how many think you're watching Eureka on the Sci-Fi Channel? Very few of you, and I'm surprised, because they actually have a really wonderful portrayal of scientists on their show, a very loving portrayal of scientists, and the showrunner, Jamie Pollia, his father is a scientist, and he worked for a while doing radio and podcast interviewing scientists in Cambridge, so he became very familiar with the scientific mindset. When he went to create his show, he came there with a great love and fondness and understanding of the culture of science. So they're of all colors, they're mixed gender, they all have different personalities. Some of them are geeky, some of them are cool, some of them are in between, some of them are quirky. You get this wonderful community, and they're all rich characters, and they all evolve, and it's underwatched.
Well, my point is, I didn't mean to be critical of those shows. For instance, I love House. I think.
Oh no, I know, I understand, but I think you need to understand what good storytelling is. You need a very colorful central character, and let's face it. I mean, they've got Hollywood can be a little lazy. They need something that sells in a pitch. They need the quick, high concept pitch. And so, hey, curmudgeonly, doctor with a cane and a drug problem, is brilliant and solves all these great things. Studio goes, oh yeah, we'll buy that. Quiet, well-meaning, paper chase, scientist probably not going to sell so much in today's environment. And ultimately, they have to sell it.
Actually, I did a survey of a couple hundred movies that involve scientists, and the overwhelming majority of scientists are portrayed as heroes in movies. From Indiana Jones to the Doctor in Avatar, the two scientists in Avatar. So it's a misnomer to think of scientists as being villains or mad or in that. They're just not. They're
Well, as crazy
heroes.
as Walter is on Fringe, you know, he's
They're
actually a very
heroes.
lovable character.
Yeah.
They're actually deliberately playing on the mad
Sure.
scientist there.
I'm at Nature and I run the science fiction column and review science fiction, and my main beef for years is that there is a great deal of very good science fiction stories out there that are not made. And I'm trying to keep it short. I reviewed Independence Day in Nature and I said, goodness me, what a terrible film this is. Now, why didn't they film Arthur C. Clarke's Childhood's End, which is a much more meaty story? It starts in exactly the same way as Independence Day, but it actually asked very interesting questions about humanity. It's got good characters and so on. Then what happened? Arthur C. Clarke, I'll tell you when it was, he was still very much alive. He faxed me a list. It was a table of all his novels, when they were published, when they were optioned by Paramount Pictures, and none of them had been made, except for 2001, which he wrote as a screenplay anyway. And there was a lot of great stories in there, and if anyone who reads science fiction regularly, there are a lot of good stories, but people in Hollywood just don't notice them. They still stick there. Modern science fiction is good, it's literate, but people still stick to a kind of 1940s, 1950s sci-fi stereotype. So my message to Hollywood is, 40 years have elapsed in science fiction since we last.
I agree with you to a certain extent, but a lot of it has to do with, there are people who are passionate about making good sci-fi like you're talking about. And as you can see, these stories get optioned. Just so for people who may not know about the process, if you write a story, a producer will option that story, which then gives them a period of time for them to actually get it set up at a studio, for a studio to fund it and make it. And many, many, many stories die that way and get buried and never see the light of day as a movie.
And it's not just science fiction, you
No,
know,
it's
don't think that
everything.
this is just science. I mean, it happens to everybody. There's some really wonderful stories out there that have been optioned and never made. I pointed to you, so.
Two things. One is that there is another avenue for science, and that is movies that are a little bit associated with history. So there you can bring in sort of like history of science. And one of the things that I was thinking about was Mad Men with the DVD collection. Actually, they have sociologists in there, they have feminist studies, cultural studies person. But so, for example, over there, the whole lunar program and those type of things came in. So it's not just science fiction that we can concentrate on, but actually a little bit of historical component to films. We can extract
That's
science
actually a
in
very,
there.
very good idea.
And then you can bring in audience that may not necessarily be watching science, but they can.
Because the history in which the series takes place is actually very central. You're right.
Exactly.
Carl.
So something that I was noticing was absent from your presentation was an interaction between medical researchers and Hollywood. And I was thinking of, in my own experience, like if I write about medicine, if I write about an advance in medicine, if I write about something that could be a potential treatment, medical researchers are really, the responsible ones, are really leery about my giving anybody a sort of a sense of false hope that tomorrow we're going to take care of this disease. You know, it's all going to be taken care of. And I'm curious if there's a reluctance with them when they deal with Hollywood, like, oh, they're going to just make everyone think that we're going to cure cancer tomorrow.
There's actually a separate program called Hollywood Health and Society that Marty Kaplan runs out of USC, and he focuses specifically, he for instance supplies the tech consultants for House, for Grey's Anatomy, for some of a lot of the soap operas, because they all have doctors in a general hospital. I would not say that they're necessarily reluctant. We sometimes will do, because Marty focuses on TV, we will sometimes do medical films if they have medical questions. So we've had a number of doctors. I would say only a couple were reluctant. Simon Baron Cullen, I think understandably, turned down a chance to work on a movie about autism. He talked to the writer and decided that he just didn't want to talk to him. Because he didn't like the direction he was going, and I respected him for that. And we just, found the writer someone else, and hopefully, it won't be too bad. You actually can't control, you have to do what you can, but you can't control the outcome. And the other thing is, we've only had trouble with pharmaceutical people. They don't want to talk to Hollywood at all, ever. And we can't.
Does anyone ask Michael Spector about that?
I have something to say about that. It's a huge
Yes.
mistake. It's a huge opportunity for pharmaceutical companies.
Oh,
and they're
really?
completely acceptable.
Why won't they
Please
talk to
tweet
me?
that
They
out.
won't return my calls.
Because they're run by people who don't even
Lawyers.
appreciate what they have to offer. And they're morons.
That makes